CS2 in its current state might be still missing some of its game modes, leaving the casual players very patiently waiting for them to come back. But besides the official ones, the server browser is there, and just like other Valve titles, features servers where people may find what they seek. All of this is thanks to how moddable the engine is. If you ignore the main game itself, you can think of CS as a hub for various community-created mods and maps. The older CS titles are no exception, and in a time where indies weren't as prevalent, if you're an aspiring developer or designer, games like CS were a popular choice. You could still make a game in something like Adobe Flash or RPG Maker, but if you already play CS and wanna stick to it, why not express yourself artistically? So, throughout the history of this franchise, there were tons of game modes. We know the most popular have become official, other more specific ones maintain a community to this day, then there are those which either fell off or never even took off. What happened to them and why? To figure it out, let's look at some of these dead game modes. Warcraft 3, the most popular mod with the biggest fall off. Listen, I understand you love it, and so did I, but today it barely exists. For those that don't know, what is Warcraft 3 mod? It originated in 2004 by a user called Gisu. It has a dedicated website, forum, and wiki page featuring other versions of the mod with support for Day of Defeat plus CSCZ. How does it play? Imagine regular CS, but every player is a certain class with abilities based on the Warcraft series. Once you enter a server, you'll have to pick your class. Each comes with 3 abilities that are passive and 1 ultimate. The ultimate is more powerful and often activated with a bind. You get XP to level up your class with frags and winning rounds. Ultimate is unlocked after level 6. Additionally, there is a shop where you can buy items like Tome of XP and others that provide bonuses or additional passive abilities. Some servers saved XP progression, while others reset it every map change. I won't explain in detail how it all works, I could sit here all day. Also, the other versions have tons more classes and abilities, so just know everything in these mods is tailored to work with this first-person shooter. But it doesn't have to be played on just typical CS. You see, since the Warcraft mod simply adds another dimension of gameplay, you can stack it onto other game modes. I swear to you, I once discovered a server that had 1. Deathmatch, 2. Warcraft, 3. A rank reward system, and 4. Zombie mode. Riveting, isn't it? Okay, if it's so popular, why is it dead? Well, it's not exactly written anywhere, so you'll have to settle for my benign opinion. This mod, while fun, is ultimately a gimmick, and similar to what I said before about zombie mod, once gaming grew over the years, the demand for mods like this kinda died out. Another reason is at some point it wasn't friendly to potential new players, as veterans knew everything, and if the server allowed save XP, it meant their immense progress gave them an unfair advantage. Slightly less popular but similar is Superhero mod. Same ability and XP system, but instead of Warcraft, it's Marvel, DC, and other fictional characters. This was a lot more expansive, with crazier stuff happening, but in the end, it has met the same fate. Lastly, I want to mention, there was an attempt at reviving these mods in CSGO, but it didn't last, so let's not get our hopes up for CS2. Everything has a beginning and an end. Soccerjam, it's just soccer, or football for Europeans. I vaguely remember this, but never really played it, because to kick the ball you needed a bind, which I didn't know how it worked back then. Or maybe I was just too stupid. Created by One-Eyed in 2006, running mostly on one map simply called Soccerjam. Of course, if this was just soccer, it wouldn't be that interesting. Knifing the opposing team is possible on certain servers, but on others, only the one holding the ball. No fouls here. There is a list of upgrades you can purchase to increase stats, and to help with goalkeeping, you can't get too close to the enemy goalpost, especially if you have the ball. There are also no rules if the ball goes out of court, so you can take it anywhere. To catch the ball, you simply must touch it, and tossing it around, it feels pretty good. I don't know how it's modified to bounce like this, but it's definitely better than the typical primitive gold source physics. It definitely was popular to a degree, had a short-lived forum, but over time, it was reduced to a small niche of players on a bunch of empty servers these days. Grenade War. Oh, I used to love this one. Basically volleyball slash dodgeball but with grenades and nothing else. It's very simple. Anyway, knifing isn't possible on some maps due to either a barrier or not having the knife. The maps were of course custom, starting with an HE prefix. They sometimes included other gimmicks to make it more interesting. The more people on the server, the more chaos will ensue. I was a big fan of this, but it never truly took off. Its origin is not exactly known since it's not a mod but just maps. The oldest map to my knowledge is HE Glass by Nipper from 2001, so maybe this is where it started? It could also be something that naturally spurred from the community and later turned into a game mode slash series of maps? I don't know. Fun maps. Okay, this one is again about the maps, but it's so robust it might as well be an entirely separate game mode. Here, anything goes really. Half of the time it revolves around Funk Vehicle, mowing down players and ending up in various glitches. Other times, bizarre maps and overall messing around with the possibilities of the engine. Just mindless fun. This always remained a niche, but those who appreciated it were dedicated. There might not be many populated servers, but the good thing is, however, in spirit, they technically still exist considering how creative people can be in the CS workshop. Okay, shut up, I get it! Paintball. You might ask yourself, why would this be necessary? My only assumption is that the gameplay is rather different. Instead of hit scan, your weapons are like skill shots, and with there being only 2 weapons, everyone is on the same level playing field. It does come with custom maps, but for the most part it runs on gun game or fight yard maps since they are similar in design. Originally made by Krotal in 2006, there was some demand, but I think despite the simplicity, it never managed to capture too much of a player base. Furien. You might not know this one because it isn't as old as the rest on this list. It only came up about 10 years ago or so. How does it play? No special maps and objectives are typical CS stuff, but Ts are called Furiens, are very fast, can stick to walls, only have a knife, and are invisible when standing still. CTs are anti-Furiens. They can also kinda zoom around the map, but not as fast, and they can use any weapon. Shops are also available for buying extra items and stuff. Yeah, I don't really get this one. Seems like a mishmash of other mods, but some people really like it. And out of all the games on this list, this may not be exactly dead. There are servers with people in them. Now here's a quick few that are truly lost to time. Ghost. The way this worked is the entire T side are invisible ghosts with no footstep sounds and only a knife. CTs are regular humans and there are no special maps that come with it, just diffuse scenario. This does sound like a much slower version of Furien. It works pretty similarly. Maybe it's a precursor. Catch. Close to hide and seek, but it's more like tag and everyone seems to possess the properties of rubber, spastically flying around the map chasing each other. Yeah, this was too simple to last a long time. Nightcrawler. Similar to Ghost mod, but with more abilities and human classes involved. Still not as good as zombie mode though. Death Race. Run as fast as you can to the end of the map while traversing through various obstacles. Sounds similar to Death Run, except there is a winner and obstacles are different to accommodate gameplay. Yeah! Snowball War. Similar to Grenade War except with snowballs and instead of physics they are thrown at a fixed distance and speed. The snowballs either exploded or were a one-hit kill, but other servers might have worked differently. Volleyball, yep, just volleyball with an explosive you bounce around. There is nothing much else to it. Now, as someone who doesn't have a whole lot of experience with CS Source, I am not fully aware what the custom modding scene was like. I tried looking up some and didn't find much. Most was ported from the previous CS. This makes a lot of sense, considering Gmod uses the same engine, and it is literally a sandbox, so there was no need of constricting everything to just CSS. Regardless, there are 3 exclusive modes I know of that are worth covering. Tricks. This one is a bit complicated and it involves 2 players. It's all about movement and similar in a way to surf, but instead of surfing, one player flies forward by getting flash boosted from the second player. In other instances, there is run boosting involved. It is extremely precise and requires a lot of coordination by both parties, and this involvement of teamwork is what attributes to its small player base that seem almost non-existent today. Minigames. Think of something like fun maps where anything goes, but more objective focused. Maps have multiple areas players go through like a gauntlet. Maybe it was popular before, now all I could find are a bunch of empty servers. break floor. Both teams have to break the floor in order to meet and shoot each other. I see why this would be fun, but it's such a simple gimmick. No wonder the very few servers that exist are empty. And that's all I could think of. Again, maybe I missed something, but I believe I managed to cover the most popular at least. Some of them I wish were more popular, others unfortunately were not meant to be. Regardless, it's great to see the modding scene for CS still thriving today on the workshop, even if it's not the same as before. This creative outlet of the game is truly important for us all in so many ways. And just as important is my obligation to clean up under my furniture. Yeah, it sounds unnecessary, but all of that dust isn't good for your health, really, even if it's hidden.